Hello. Welcome back to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. For this upload, we will be reading Numbers chapter 30. And Moses spake unto the heads of the tribes concerning the children of Israel, saying, This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded. If a man vow a vow unto the Lord, or swear an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word, he shall do according to all that proceedeth out of his mouth. If a woman also vow a vow unto the Lord, and bind herself by a bond, being in her father's house in her youth, and her father hear her vow, and her bond wherewith she hath bound her soul, and her father shall hold his peace at her, then all her vows shall stand, and every bond wherewith she hath bound her soul shall stand. But if her father disallow her in the day that he heareth, not any of her vows, or of her bonds wherewith she hath bound her soul, shall stand. And the Lord shall forgive her, because her father disallowed her. And if she had at all an husband, when she vowed or uttered out of her lips, wherewith she bound her soul, and her husband heard it, and held his peace at her in the day that he heard it, then her vow shall stand, and her bonds wherewith she bound her soul shall stand. But if her husband disallowed her on the day that he heard it, then he shall make her vow which she vowed, and that which she uttered with her lips wherewith she bound her soul, of none effect, and the Lord shall forgive her. But every vow of a widow and of her that is divorced, wherewith they have bound their souls, shall stand against her. And if she vowed in her husband's house, or bound her soul by a bond with an oath, and her husband heard it, and held his peace at her, and disallowed her not, then all her vows shall stand, and every bond wherewith she bound her soul shall stand. But if her husband hath utterly made them void on the day he heard them, then whatsoever proceedeth out of her lips concerning her vows, or concerning the bond of her soul, shall not stand. Her husband hath made them void, and the Lord shall forgive her. Every vow and every binding oath to afflict the soul, her husband may establish it, or her husband may make it void. But if her husband altogether hold his peace at her from day to day, then he establisheth all her vows, or all her bonds which are upon her. He confirmeth them, because he held his peace at her in the day he heard them. But if he shall anyways make them void after that he hath heard them, then he shall bear her iniquity. These are the statutes which the Lord commanded Moses between a man and his wife, between the father and his daughter, being yet in her youth in her father's house. Summarizing Numbers chapter 30, if a man makes a vow to the Lord, he is accountable for keeping it. Verses 3 through 5. If a woman in her youth makes an oath and her father is aware of it and doesn't object, this is a valid vow. If the father does object, her vow is void and holds no value. Verses 6 through 8. If the woman's husband hears and doesn't object, this is a valid vow. If he agrees, the vow holds no value. Verse 9. Any vow that a widowed or unmarried woman makes will be binding, and this is sort of if you don't have a man, then you act as your own man. Verses 11 through 14. Repeating that a man's silence in response to hearing a vow is the same as compliance, and a man confirms or denies a woman's vow. So if a woman begins to make a vow and her husband doesn't object, then it's considered valid. The man is responsible for honoring vows from women. And so a man honors the vows of his wife, a father honors the vows of the daughter. So we are going forward. The Israelites are going to begin to intermingle with another group of people and take some of their women captive. So God is establishing this because we have to understand people from other groups may not hold the same honor, the same values. They may not be loyal because, when women are taken captive, it's usually against their will, and it's usually violent, like their entire city was destroyed. So we're going to get into that because it's going to get, the way they get these women is going to be pretty awful. So God said, hey, let's make sure there's a vow. So that's Numbers 30. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Have a good day.